What's up, Tesla family? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with Teslas. We're attempting to break out right now. And although we need more confirmation, I do want to say that the chart is showing some strength. Just know that I'm not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on invested cash. The offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening with this market. One thing that's good about Tesla is the fact that we had this low around this like 214 area. We bounced a little bit, then we made a higher low right here around this like 222 area. And then what happened was we saw a retest of this resistance. So that's a pretty good sign, at least thus far. Now, with the way that this is moving, you could draw this out as a either you could draw this out as a wedge, or this could even turn into like a bullish wedge depending on how you draw this. But it doesn't really matter at this point. What matters is the price action. So I'm just going to focus on that. Tesla needs confirmation for a bigger breakout. We have to break and hold above the 250 area. If we do that going into next week, I could see us push for 262 or above, all the way back up to 270 potentially, if that ends up being the case. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying Tesla's going to run forever and that the low is in. It's just possible that this is a temporary bullish move, and there could be more downside later with the reciprocal tariffs being announced and factors like that. But for now, we're just going to ride the price action, ride the trend, and just know it's trying to push higher, especially if we break this resistance. So what's going to happen from this point on? Let's talk about this. The first thing, when it comes to news, Elon Musk has been imploring his employees to not sell their stock, even though it feels like Armageddon in his words. He mentioned that, we have to hang in there. The future is going to be very bright, even though things are very crazy. He also talks about how he wants Tesla to increase their security, especially at dealerships and showrooms amidst the, vandalism that's been going on. So that's what Elon Musk has been talking about. One piece of data that's not too good is the fact that we're seeing about a 300% increase in the overall trade-ins for Teslas. So we're continuing to see that geopolitics and a lot of other factors are playing a role in this. Elon Musk's views and his overall role in the current administration as well, that does somewhat affect them. However, moving forward, Musk is saying that despite all of this, they're going to be completely fine. So he's telling us to not worry, and he's continuing to say that. Now, the market dips today. Tesla was a little bit stronger than the overall market, but we did see a bit of a sell-off in the morning. I did give you guys a warning about that in my video yesterday, but then I mentioned that I was expecting some kind of upside move as the day went on. Now, as you can see, SPY kind of dipped a bit, then started to bounce by about 7 points. The QQQ dumps to about 474, then it bounced all the way back up to 480 for a pretty solid close in the green. So overall, the buyers did return. So the question is, why did this happen? Why is the market pushing? Let's talk about that first, and I'll break down these charts. The first thing I want to talk about is President Trump. I understand people get annoyed with all this politics talks. It's completely understandable. But honestly, guys, I have no choice. I have to talk about this if I want to give you guys a comprehensive analysis. What helped the market push is the fact that President Trump said that there's going to be flexibility on his reciprocal tariff plan. He said this because he was asked about, are there going to be exemptions and exceptions when it comes to his duties. And he mentioned that although he's not really interested in doing that, although he's not talking about these exemptions, he is more focused on just being more flexible with certain countries. The market obviously liked that. That's why we saw a bit of a push. Now, he's also not really announcing new tariffs right now. Instead he's just pumping April 2nd, saying it's going to be a very, very big day for the country. So he's getting everything ready for them. He's being silent until then. I'm not really seeing him announce anything specific. So as we approach that period, we're going to be looking for a big amount of volatility, and we'll see what that leads to. Just keep that in mind. So April 2nd is going to be very important. Trump is saying that he's willing to be flexible when it comes to policy. So we'll see what that leads to. The market did like that. That's why the market saw a bit of a bounce. And then another reason why we bounced is because of the options change. So what the market makers did today was that they essentially caused the market to be very choppy. This is part of why we saw some chop for Tesla as well in like the mid 240s before it started to push towards the end of the day. Why was there so much chop? Because it really hurt these option premiums. There's a lot of options expiring because of quadruple witching, but then towards the end of the day, they did push us more to hurt more of the puts. So to close things off, okay, we saw over 1.79 million of these calls out of the money. this hurts the majority of those options holders, which benefited the market makers, right? Only 46,000 were in the money. Over a million, 1.7 plus million were out of the money. For the put side, 1 million were in the money, but almost 3 million were out of the money, which is still technically benefits the market makers. That's why they chopped us around and they started to push us a little bit towards the end of the day to hurt as many option holders as possible. So that's what they were doing. As a result of that, the market did see a nuanced reaction. But now, going into next week, we're going to be listening to see what happens with our data. We have the PMI report coming out on Monday, might cause some volatility. Tuesday is going to be quite quiet, except we do have some manufacturing numbers at 10 a.m. On Wednesday, it's going to be quiet data, not really anything significant coming out. On Thursday, we have GDP numbers, which may cause some volatility. But then besides that, it's going to be kind of quiet. And finally, for Friday, we have the PCE data report, which is going to be very important. That will cause a lot more volatility. So the data is going to be a little bit quiet for the week. It's not as crazy this week or next week that's coming up. Heading into our overall earnings, this is what the calendar looks like, quite minor. Not seeing anything crazy for Tesla, by the way, on the news. I'm just talking about what's happening for the market. Lots of retail from GameStop to Dollar Tree to Chewy. Nothing else is too crazy. The fear and greed index is currently at extreme fear. That's making up the majority of sentiment. So we'll see if this shifts or not. So let's focus on the charts. What is Tesla doing? We do look a bit more bullish as we're trying to make a higher low here. I could even try to redraw this. So if I even I could even delete this right here, draw out this trend line a little higher like this. And then as you guys can see, this kind of resembles like a bullish wedge sort of. So you guys can see that we're doing something like this where we're trying to make like higher highs and higher lows like this. And if we do get some kind of breakthrough this, then there could be an attempt to break out higher like that. That's like another example of how you could look at this. But overall, it doesn't really matter. The pattern doesn't matter. What matters more is going to be, can we hold above these lows? Can Tesla not lose like 230? If we hold above that, it's going to be good. And then secondly, can we break above 250? If we break that, there's going to be some kind of attempt to push for 262. That does look a bit more favorable, but we'll see. Just to be safe, we need to watch for confirmation next week if we could break 250. If it does, we're looking for a bigger move. Also, Tesla has rejected off the low 250s many times. This time I want to see us break and hold above it. If we do, we're looking for 262 as our target. So the share price looks a bit more bullish, but we need to see resistance break just for confirmation. On SPY, when you zoom out, we have a potential inverse head and shoulders like pattern, and then there is a range on SPY, so that's going to be another important factor. So when you look at this, okay, I am sure you guys could see this like left shoulder ahead and then maybe a right shoulder that could be forming. That depends, right? I do see us trying to push higher. If we reject off 568, we're looking for 558. If that fails us, then I'm looking for that head and shoulders. But if we manage to do the opposite, if we don't reject this time around 568, it's possible we could try to break through this and remain bullish. So it depends on a big test going into next week. So I expect us to push for 568 and we'll see what the reaction happens to be. I do want to mention that we'll be watching to see how it goes, but this does look like it's trying to make higher lows. And as of right now, we haven't lost critical support. We're still holding it. So the trend is still a little bit more in favor of bulls as we're trying to make higher lows. So I'm looking for an attempt for 568 to be coming very soon. There's a good chance we do try to get there. On the QQQ, is the same setup. We have a nice bullish wedge-like pattern. I want to see us basically break above 485. If that's the case, we're looking for an attempt to get to the 490s. On the IWM Russell 2000, we have the same thing, an inverse head and shoulders like pattern. If we break past 205, we're looking for an attempt to break out even more for the 210s. If we fail at 202, it's going to be a bad sign. So I want to see a bullish continuation. ES has an inverse head and shoulders as well. We need to see this break and hold above 57.50. I do expect us to test that going into tomorrow. Sorry, not tomorrow, into like next week. But then we'll see if we get a big rejection like that, or if we break through this and just continue to push for this gap over here where I'm pointing this gap. That could actually still keep us bullish. So we'll see what the reaction is off 57.50. For NQ, we have a nice accumulation that's forming. If we break 20,000, we're looking for an attempt to get back to about 20,400. If we lose support right here, 19,500, we could be dipping back down. Nice double bottom accumulation structure. So I think that the 20,000s could be coming. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. For Bitcoin, we're making higher lows right here. I want to see us get back above 86,000. If that's the case, 87,500 is coming. If we end up losing 82,000, we're looking for a dump. So we'll just have to see how that goes. For Nvidia, I think we're looking pretty good right now. Just a nice inverse head and shoulders right here. However, if we break and hold above 120, then I'm looking for 125 as our targets. If we end up losing 114, we could be dipping back down towards 111. So we're kind of stuck here off this inverse head and shoulders. I need to see Nvidia hold up though. We need to try to hold support at 115 going into next week. Then we could be looking for an attempt to push higher. So there's potential in this. But we need confirmation should be a break above 117.8. Let me go over just a few more to conclude this video. I know the weekend's coming up. We want to make this kind of quick. Coinbase needs to get back above 195 to remain bullish. The problem is we tend to bounce off 177 to like 180, that range. We also tend to reject off 195, so we're kind of in the middle going back and forth. But we could be looking for 195 as a potential move. For Amazon, we have support at 191, and we also have resistance around 200. So this is trying to push for 198.5. I do think it pushes a bit higher, and we'll see how it goes from there. For Meta, we're looking for an attempt for like 604. We have support at 578, and then we have resistance around the 600s. It's technically going back and forth, but there is potential for this imbalance. So I see 604 next week. Microsoft is more bullish. We're trying to make higher lows. So long as we don't lose 386, we're favoring a push closer to about 395 than 400. So it looks more bullish. Google's in the middle. I do see a test of 168, but it has to break that to remain bullish. We've been just going back and forth between supply and demand so far, so I want to see if we can break that resistance. The last thing I'm going to say is that the VIX is technically weak right now. This is weak. If we can't hold 19.61, that's a bullish sign for the markets that the market's going to push higher. That could be good for stocks, at least for the short term. And that could also help the broader markets and Tesla. So for now, Tesla's trying to push higher, but we'll see what kind of reaction we get. Anyways, I thank you all for listening. I want to make this video short. I'll be back with another upload soon. Have a good day, guys. Enjoy the weekend, and peace out.